Hi everyone. So I thought I would pop in this afternoon. I've got a spare couple of hours, so I thought I would have a go at creating a journal page based on this card that I made. So this was a card that I made with the new stamps, or some of the new stamps and new stencils, but I keep looking at it and thinking that it would make quite a good journal page. So I'm going to have a go at seeing if I can come up with a journal page with it. We'll see, I'm not sure, but I'm going to give it a go. So this is what the page is going to be based on. I'm going to try and keep quite a lot of white space. I'm going to be using some inks. Now I'm using the Aladdin Eyes ink pads, but you could do this with if you've got coloured archival inks, or if you've got coloured distress inks, distress oxides, etc. So it doesn't matter which brand. And I've just picked out, so I've picked two different shades of blue. I've also picked out a black as well. I may or may not use it, I've not decided yet. So I'm going to be using those, and I have a blending, one of these blending brushes, so I'm going to use that. I'm using stencil PS200, which is from the new release. So this one's only just been released in June. Then I'm going to use some of the swirls from the older stamp set ETS 33. And I'm going to be using a couple of the stamps from ETS 44, which was also one of the June releases. Obviously, if you don't have these, you can use what you've got to do your pages. It doesn't have to be those. What I'm also going to use is I have some offcuts of card. So this is just painted card that I painted up. I'll give you the colours when it comes to doing it. So these were done with the a mix of the fresco paints and also a couple of the Amsterdam neons in there. If you did my Warrior Princess class, these are the offcuts that were left over from doing that class, so I'm going to use those as well. So I'm going to start in my journal, and I'm going to go straight in. I'm not going to think about it. Like I said, this is not planned, so I've not planned this page, so you're going to have to forgive me. So I'm kind of thinking, whereas in the card, obviously this was a square card, so I had this kind of triangle configuration going on. Obviously that's not so much going to work on this, so I'm thinking maybe come across the page and have my white space either side. So I'm just going to grab a different page, because I don't want to work on a double page, because I like to save my double pages for when I'm doing a double page spread. So let's have a look. I just want to pick somewhere. That one will do. That one will do. So I'm just going to clip my page back just so that it doesn't spring back. This one's getting quite full up now. So I'm going to work on this page. So I'm just going to start with my ink pad. So I'm just rubbing my brush to pick up some of that ink. And I'm going to go in, I'm going to think about where I'm going. I'm going to kind of come across the page, I think. So I'm just going to go in and start with the inks. And I'm just going in a circular motion just to transfer the inks to the page. Perfect. So I'm going to do a few of those, and then I think I'm going to add, I'm thinking rather than just doing one colour, I'm going to add some in different colours. A couple of different shapes from this stencil, I'm thinking. And obviously, if you haven't got inks and you don't want to do this with inks, you could do the same with your paints. So there's no reason not to do the same technique, but using your paints and a sponge. I just thought, for a change, because I used inks on the original card, I thought that was what I would do. So I'm going to add one more up here, and then I think I'm going to go in with some different ink, so I've got a darker, so this is more of a navy blue, and I'm not going to clean my brush off because I'm using the blues. I'm not going to worry about cleaning my brush off because it's going to work anyway. So let me see, let's go in with this one. So I'm thinking, and I don't have to use the entire stamp, so stencil even, so I'm just going to go in, load up, and I'm just going to go in. So this is just going to give me a different tone so that I've not got all of the same. All of the same tone. Add a little bit more. Obviously you can build up your stenciling as well so that it's darker in some areas. Yep, so I'm liking that. So, and you don't have to use the whole stencil, you know, I say it all the time, but you don't have to use the whole thing, so it doesn't have to be the whole pattern. You could just use part of the pattern and that will just give you a different look. And obviously using the inks is a lot faster, so you get your colour down on your page a lot faster. So I did go over a little bit there. I'm not going to worry about it. I'm not going to stress. Anybody that knows me, you know, if you've seen me working before, I do not stress about things being perfect. So that's cool. Maybe another one at the top just to go off the page, and then I might do some in black as well. But I want to make this quite a fast page. I don't want to be here all day. So they've got, that looks good. There's a couple of different tones. So I'm just going to go in now with the black. I don't think I've used this black one before. So let's see. So I'm thinking maybe there. And I don't want too much black. I want it to be more grey. I don't want it to be a dark black. Because obviously if I was using a, if maybe I was using a black paint, then obviously I would get a real dark black. But this actually is more grey, I would say. It doesn't say, it's got a funny name. It's got a French name, so I wouldn't like to say, but it seems to be more grey to me, like a real dark Payne's grey kind of colour, which is nice. And it goes really well with the other two. And it's really standing out as well against that, against the other patterns. So I'm going to put another one. Like I said, this could go all horribly wrong because I have no clue what it is that I'm going to do with this. I'm just kind of trying to base it on the card that I'd already done. So I'm kind of liking that. It's got quite a nice flow going on. I don't think I'm going to add any more. I might go in and add some more in a little while, because it doesn't mean when you're doing a journal page, it doesn't mean it doesn't always mean it's done. Just because you stop doing something doesn't mean it's done. You can go back, obviously, and look at it again at a later stage and decide if you need to add any more. So I need to think about, so if I'm going to do one flower, am I going to do one flower? Or should I do two? No, you can't do two. So maybe, if I'm going to do the flower, say the flower's going to go here, then I'm thinking maybe this needs to come from there. Okay, so I'm just trying to work out where I am putting this stamp. So this is the swirl stamp, like vine, leaf vine swirl from ETS 33. But obviously any swirl stamp is going to do the same. So if I know that my flower is going to be there, I'm going to put it in that position, then I know that I'm safe to obviously stamp underneath where it's going to be, because I'm not going to see it. So I'm thinking maybe there. And I'm hoping it's going to be fine, because my journal is getting quite bumpy, but if not, then we'll fix it. Yep, that's fine. That's good. What I might do with the next one, because I don't necessarily want the whole thing, so I'm kind of thinking maybe I want part of one, or maybe I want it coming down there. Okay, so I'm just gonna ink up, so I'm inking it off the block now. Let's have a look, decide. So I'm thinking maybe coming off, coming out a little bit from the top. And again, I'm not worrying too much because I know that the position of my flower is going to go over the top of there. So I'm kind of thinking that's going to come off on both sides. That's cool. And I might just do, not a lot, but I might just do a little bit coming up. Or do I want it coming there? I might just do a little bit coming from the corner, I think. Yep. And maybe a tiny bit from that corner too. But there's no right or wrong. So I'm thinking that that's cool. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to give that stamp a wipe off because I might put a couple more in on my original card. I did do a few more of those in the same blue that I did my stenciling with. So I'm thinking I'm going to give that stamp a clean off because I don't want it to be black. And then I think I'm going to add just a couple more in that blue colour. Just make sure it's nice and clean, just so that I don't contaminate. So thinking just a couple, I think, in that blue. And again, I think I'm going to go from there just because I know that centre is going to be covered, so it doesn't matter what mess it gets into in the middle. Yep. Maybe one more, just a little bit. Just a little bit in there, I think. I'm not worrying too much if it's overlapping a little bit. Yep. So, okay. That's cool. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to put this to one side just for a second. And I'm going to stamp for my flower. So I need to stamp. So this is ETS 44, so this was the June release. I'm going to stamp 6 of this one. So it's like the oval shape, like the fan shape, teardrop. And I'm going to stamp those with black archival. I'm going to stamp 6 of those, so I'll use my scrap piece of card. So I very often have pieces of card left over when I do projects because I very often use painted card. So very often I will have scraps of card left over which work really well for something like this. So I don't need to worry about painting something out or colouring something in. You know, I could have stamped these onto white card and coloured them with pens, but so much quicker to do it this way. And I'll still have a little bit left over for something else. So I need 6. Which is perfect. And then I want one, I just want one of this small piece. Let me find a piece of scrap card. Always have a piece of scrap card laying around somewhere that's not used from other projects. Let me grab something. There we go. So I'm just going to stamp. So this is just a piece of white card that I've got laying around, and I'm just going to stamp one of these in black, just so that I've got the black and white contrast, because then that'll match with the rest of the card. Okay, So I'm going to put that to one side, and I need obviously to cut these out. So let's just chop them up, and then I'll cut those out, and then we'll start to assemble. So I'm not too neat and tidy when I cut out. I'm not a real fussy cutter, and because I know that I'm going to ink around the edges of these, so I'm not going to stress too much about making them perfect. So the colours that I've used, so if you want to know the colours that I used on this piece of card, they're all Paper Artsy paints, and the colours were Cerise, Cerulean, Tangerine Twist, Dirty Lime, and then the fluorescent pink and fluorescent yellow were the Amsterdam. So they were Amsterdam, Reflex Rose and Reflex Yellow, but basically a neon pink and a neon yellow. So those are the colours that I used on there, just in case you want to use the same. So I'm just cutting these out. As I said, I'm not worrying about being too careful. I'm going to ink around the edges afterwards to finish them off anyway. And I'm going to use 3D foam tape, because I like to use 3D foam just because it's instant. I've not got to wait for glue to dry, and I don't mind. My journal is so bulky that I don't worry too much. If you want it, obviously, if you want this to lay flat, then you would just use your normal white glue or your matte medium to glue down. But I'm not too worried. My journal's getting so chunky anyway, and I kind of like it like that. So that's that. Cut out this one small one, and then I'm going to give those a quick ink. Just put my scraps to one side. So I'm just going to use my black archival, and I'm just going to ink around the edges of all of those pieces, and that just gets rid of any white core or anywhere where my cutting out is not perfect. It will just disguise it. And it doesn't take long, but it does make a difference to how it looks because you're framing each individual piece. That's those done. Brilliant. So, shall I stick them directly on? I think I should. So I'm just going to bring my journal back in, and let's have a look where they're going to go. So I'm just going to get a feel for where they're going to go, because then I can figure out where my tape is going to go. Obviously, every time you do this, it would look different because you'll have different different colours. Your flowers would be different colours. So I'm thinking that, and then obviously that one's going to go in the centre. So I'm going to grab some tape. Of course, you could glue this down. I'm going to grab some tape. Let me find my scissors again. They're probably under my book. So I'm going to... So I'm just going to cut a piece of tape, and I'm going to put that in the middle so that I know that is where my flower is going to sit. And I'm just going to start assembling. Now obviously I know that none of this is going to be seen, so this is quite strong industrial tape as well, so it's quite, look, yeah, just going to cross over just a tiny bit. So I know that this is going to stick really well. So let's do that one. And that one, which is good. And then I'm just going to put a little bit of tape on the centre and put that on. Okay, so that's cool. So I've still got a little bit of time to manipulate and move things around a little bit, but that's looking quite good. So now I'm thinking, do I want a second one? See, this is the thing. So do I want a second one now, and have I got enough card? Let's see. I think if I can do a second one, I think I'm going to do it. Let me have a stamp. So I'm kind of thinking a second one would look really good now. See, this is what I said about no plan. So let me find my stamp and my ink. So I'm going to do the same, I think. I'm going to, hopefully I can get another 6 out of my scraps. I think if I manipulate it and stamp quite close, I should be okay. This is kind of the way I work most of the time. I don't very often have a proper plan. I might have an idea, but I don't necessarily know how it's going to be executed. So I'm going to cut those out. I'm going to stamp another one of those as well for the centre. So I wouldn't necessarily always do 2, but I just think the size of the page is going to lend itself to having 2. Okay. So I'm going to cut these ones out now. So exactly the same process. And again, I'm going to ink them. Okay, and a piece, I can get rid of the rest. So let's just quickly run around these. This is kind of how journal pages evolve. And if something doesn't work, or if you feel that it's not working, then you change it and you keep adding until you're happy. I always say journal page not finished until you're happy with it. So, and if that means that you've got 20 layers of paint going on, then you've got 20 layers of paint going on. This is quite it's quite a quick project. I think it's quicker as well because obviously I already had those scraps of painted card. So it might take you an extra 5-10 minutes to paint up a piece of card and dry it. And all I did with my pieces of card, anybody who's done a class with me before, all I do is just finger paint. So I just do patches of colour and then I've dried it and stamped over the top. So nothing, nothing rocket science. Okay, that's those, so I'll get rid of my scraps. Get my ink and my tool. I'm just going to quickly ink those up. And I'm going to do exactly the same process and put them onto my journal page. So I think this one, grab some more tape. So let me think about where it's going to go. So do I do it there? Do I bring it across? Do you know what? I think I'm going to do it there. So it's just over, just slightly. Let's just do it. Very often as well, when I do journal pages, I look at it afterwards and think, now if I was going to do it again, I would do it this way, or I would do this. So, you know, that does happen. And when I'm teaching classes, very often I change it a little bit. When I actually come to teach the class, I change a little bit of what I've done, just because of doing this and playing around and deciding that I want to change it a little bit. So stick that down and then put my centre on. Okay, so that's kind of where we are at the minute. So what I'm going to do is grab my white pen and I'm just going to add some white detail, because the white detail is just going to make this stand out. And then I am going to add some white detail into, I think maybe into this as well. I'm not sure. So I'm just going to go in and add some white, and obviously you can add as much or as little as you want. But it does make a difference because it just gives it a little bit more depth. You can see it doesn't need a lot, it's only a few bits. Just a few bits here and there. I do have to be careful though, because I'm left-handed and I tend to smudge everything. Okay, so maybe a little bit there as well. I'm not going to go mad, but I just want to put a little bit of white detail, and obviously the white's going to show up more on the darker colours. And you could take a lot longer doing more detail. When it comes to doodling, some people spend hours doodling, some people will spend 5 minutes, so really is up to you. So I'm going to do exactly the same on this one as well. I'm just using the Signo Uniball white in Broad. This is my favourite one for working over the Paper Artsy paints. Poscas are good as well, but I tend to use this one more. So you can see I'm just adding a little bit of detail, but you can certainly take your time and add a lot more. I just wanted to come in and just do a quick video this afternoon, but already that makes a big difference doing that. Do I want to add some in the background? I'm thinking maybe you just have to be a little bit careful with inks, because inks can suck up. Do you know what? I'm not going to. Inks can suck up the into your white, so that you don't get a definite white line and a white colour, so they can end up changing the colour of your inks. So I'm thinking, because on my original I did have a border that went around the edge, so I'm thinking that I want to do that again. So I'm going to kind of play it by ear a little bit. So I'm just going to start at the top. Let me have a look. So I'm just going to start at the top, and I'm just going to do a wavy line all the way across, and then let's have a look. I'm going to put a swirl in there, and I'm going to build up on this afterwards. So then I'm kind of thinking that I'm going to come off from there and do a wavy line to the bottom. If I do the wavy line, it's going to give me the opportunity to do a little bit more to it. So again, I'm going to come in from there. I'm going to start going across. And I think I'm going to put in a swirl there, and then come off of that into the corner. And it's little details, so it'll be little details that you do that make a difference to your finished project. So then I'm going to come off of this side and do the same thing. So I'm going to give myself, I'm just giving myself this border. Okay, which is good. And what I'm going to do now is just go round now and add in some extra detail. So what I might do, for instance, is go in and add a thicker line there, and maybe I'll do the same there. So it just means I'm just giving myself some, just giving some extra detail going round. So I might come up there and come around. So I'm not doing anything, you know, just by double, if you like, double lining. I'm just giving myself some extra detail. That, and then I'm going to do the same going along this side. And then the last bit is along the top. So again, just going to have a look. Just give myself some extra detail. Now, I could leave it, so I could leave it as it is. I'm going to add a little bit more into that swirl as well. So you can leave it as it is, which is what I did on the original. So I'm kind of thinking I don't really want to do too much else to that. But you could put detail in that as well. It doesn't have to, you don't have to leave it as it is. And then I think the last thing that I'm going to do, I need to get a little saying, so I'm going to grab my my little stickers and see what I've got. But I want to add some splatter over the top. So I'm going to add splatter with a fluorescent Posca pen. So I'm just going to grab a mat. So what you do if you want to add a splatter with a Posca pen, then you want to get your Posca pen. I've got a thick one, as you can see. I killed this a long time ago, but this one obviously works really well because it's really thick and it's got lots of juice in it. But you can do this with any size. And then when I have a little puddle going on, you need to have a little puddle, then I can add I don't normally buy the big bullet tip ones, and this one I literally only use for splatter. I don't use it for anything else. I use the thinner ones for writing and colouring. But I bought the thick one. I think I got it in a pack, and I just use it for splattering. So I think I'm going to put that to one side. I think that's enough. I'm going to get that dry and I'm going to grab a Chit Chat sticker and then we'll finish off. So let's just give this a quick blast just to get that dry. So let's see what we've got. These are well used, well loved. So let's have a look. Let's see. There we go. There's two good ones. So I'm going to go with, let's see. Be brave with your life. And go with that one on the opposite side and make it count. Perfect. I'm just going to bend that just a little bit so it's bending down. I might even put a little bit of foam tape behind that just to... That's it. That's it, I think. So I think that's it. So 40 minutes, start to finish. Let's just lift the camera up just a little bit, just so that you can see it full. So I don't think that's a bad interpretation. I might even go in and add a couple of smaller stamped images and put here and there. Now there's a thought. So now I'm going to have to think about it. See, this is what happens. So now I'm standing up and I'm looking at it and I'm thinking, do you know what? I think I need to add a couple more smaller. So I'm just going to use the round stamp. Let's move this out of the way. So I'm thinking just a couple of these round stamps. Maybe 3, and that would give us 5 altogether, which would work really well. So I'm just going to quickly cut those out. I'm thinking that could work well in the gaps in between. So that's 1. 3. So let's give those a quick ink, and then I'm going to get my foam pads, and I'm going to add those to the page, I think, because I think that they will just finish it off. Let me just grab my foam pads. So 1, 2, and 3. So I'm thinking, let's try them before I put them anywhere. So I'm thinking 1, 2, 3, maybe there. So I'm playing around. Decisions. So I'm thinking maybe there. I'm going to do that. Just going to go with it. That's it, I think. Actually, I'm happier with that. That works nice because you've got the 5 going across the page, so that works nice. Okay, so I am going to leave it there. So by all means, I'd love to see what you're doing. So give it a go, try it out. Make sure that you post, because I'd love to see it. So you can post. I have my Facebook group, which is Tracy Scott Creative Cafe. You can certainly post in there. I'd love to see what you're doing. You can also tag me on Instagram. So if you tag Tracy Scott or Tracy Scott Stamps, Tracy Scott Stencils or Paper Artsy, then I will find you. I actively do search out things with those tags. So I'll let you go. Hopefully you'll give it a try, nice and simple, and I'd love to see what you've done. Thank you.